Says, hey there, I wanted to know about starting a business and bringing in a partner, whether it be family or friend. Any tips, positive and negative feedback when bringing people you love involved in a risky situation? That is a very, very good question. When it comes to business and partnerships and bringing people on or working together with people, I advise all my legal clients. And what I routinely tell everybody, and I'm telling you all out there thinking about starting a business with somebody, is that Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the End-to-End Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Young Win, also known as the Ninja. You all know you can call me the Ninja too. This is the End-to-End Podcast, the alpha to the omega, the beginning to the end, talking about life, motivation, drive, entrepreneurship, success, fulfillment, and offering you morsels in this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. Back in the studio, episode 52. Super excited to be here, although I'm looking a little bit different because I am actually in a rush. My mind is not quite here. We are in the middle of trial, and so my mind's all over the place, thinking about how we can strategically leverage the facts of the case on behalf of our clients. Big kind of case. So this is going to be a quick one. Excited to be here. As always, starting every show with a lot of gratitude for all of you out there listening. We're getting ads and follows consistently every day. That means y'all are doing me a favor, and I'm grateful in y'all's comments, likes, and shares, most especially the shares and follows. That's the only way we grow. This is all organic, on my own dime, on my own time. So, like I say, if you found value in this show in any way, made you think, laugh, contemplate, improved your life in any way, or your friend's life, or your family life, please do share the show, because I say if your knowledge got swole, share the show. That's how we grow. See, that tells you where my mind's at. Quick show. Today's going to be a single question of Q&A just to get it on record. Consistency is key on 2023. That's why I'm here. Was easily contemplating just skipping this week, but couldn't do it. Had to be no compromise and make it happen for myself. Usually we have shows where I just do a monologue, 15, 20, 30 minutes on a topic. We have guests that go on for an hour, maybe longer. And then we also have this show, the prolific Q&A. So let's get right into it. The one and only question for this prolific Q&A. And by the way, if you have any questions, please email them in, ask at the2npodcast.com, ask at the2npodcast.com, or feel free to DM on Instagram or any of the platforms, Facebook, or just leave a comment in our YouTube channel, End-to-End Podcast. You can find us all on all platforms at N2N Podcasts. So here we go. It says, hey there, I wanted to know about starting a business and bringing in a partner, whether it be family or friend. Any tips, positive and negative feedback when bringing people you love involved in a risky situation? That is a very, very good question. When it comes to business and partnerships and bringing people on or working together with people, I advise all my legal clients and anybody that asks me a similar question. What do you think about having partners in a business? And what I routinely tell everybody, and I'm telling you all out there thinking about starting a business with somebody, is that business partnerships are worse than marriage. I'll repeat that. Business partnerships are worse than marriage. Because you see, marriage, I mean, you're going into it, full of love, high aspirations. You want to grow a family, you want to grow your legacy, you want to do all these things with the person you're going to marry. Right? Just like in a business, you're going into partnership. The vibes are good, feelings are strong, full of optimism. Hey, we're going to go conquer the world. We're going to be millionaires. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I can't wait to buy the yacht, all these other things. It's all full of optimism. And if you know me and you know this podcast, you don't want to make decisions based on emotion, especially when you're on a high. Because life, you're not always on a high. You're actually on a low. Life is a flat line of lows with occasional highs. Unfortunately, enough. That topic is on a later podcast. But the point is that everybody goes into business with partners with really good intentions. Okay? Really good intentions. But the difference is that when things go bad in a marriage or in a partnership, what happens? In a marriage, you see, you can just simply break up and move on, right? Depending on what state you are, you split the assets, and you may have to litigate a little bit, and then you're moving on to the next thing. Business is different, because business, you eat, breathe, and sleep business, right? I don't know many people. If you're a true entrepreneur, you eat, breathe, and sleep business. But I don't know too many people that eat, sleep, and breathe their marriage. Love is love. It's kind of there. You invest into it, but it's the relationship, and you're building that relationship. But in a business, I mean, it's just different. And you can't just divorce in a business, because what happens? Just like in a marriage, you have assets, but you also have clients, and you also have revenue, and you also have customers, and you also have intellectual property. You have systems, you have investment, you have time, you have all these things put into a business, depending on what level of business you are, that it is just harder to walk away from, right? Not to mention that it's your livelihood and your income if you're making good money, right? The reality is you actually, as a business person, you spend a lot more time in your business than your marriage. Let's be frank, right? With all that time spent in the business, there's a sense of, it's not entitlement, but there's a sense of investment. And like it's your baby, like you've invested your energy, your blood, sweat, and tears. And so it's very hard to break away from, right? And so it is literally worse in a contextual sense. A partnership in a business is worse than a marriage. The fact is that it goes back to a podcast several episodes ago, one of the earliest ones. I forget these numbers of which podcast, but where I talk about shared values. Okay, it's okay to get into business with somebody close, somebody you love, but you must have those shared values about how you're gonna operate the business. Okay, I see this happen all the time. Partners come together for business, things get tough, and then they handle things differently. One wants to fight through the problem, one wants to quit. Or alternatively, they come into business 50-50, but then like one person is doing all the work, one person's slacking off, they get into a disagreement about who's doing what and how much and this, that, and the other related to the effort that's being put in, and inevitably it leads to broken relationships. You really have to have the shared same values. I've experienced it in my family. Okay, so in our family business, massive problems around shared values, especially in the second generation. When my parents ran their business together, easy, because they understood, they shared the same values. It was about survival. They're bringing 4 kids over from Vietnam, empty pockets, don't speak the language. They just knew they had to make it work. So everything they did was invested in just making it work. The value system was do whatever it takes to make it work. Okay, now you pass it on, a successful business, to the next generation. It wasn't about survival. Sometimes it was about how do you grow the business. Sometimes it was about how do we just maintain. Sometimes it was about how much can I get out of this business, or just a lot of different values, a lot of different issues that did not exist when my parents were in the business. And so ultimately all that conflict fractured not just the business, but fractured the family dynamic and relationships between my siblings and I, and my siblings and my parents, and so on and so forth. So it is literally, business can really, really destroy relationships. And so it's hard when, especially it's with people you love and care about, because once you're in that business, it's a very hard line to draw between what's business and what's personal. There must be an understanding of which is which ahead of time before you get together. Because if you don't, then everything is taken personally when it's business. That's why the expression is just business. So you have to be able to compartmentalize business versus personal if you're going to get into business together with somebody you love. Because criticism, which happens a lot, or failure, which happens a lot, or missed responsibilities, which happens a lot, because you're doing so many things at once, you got to be able to, one, tell the other person, hey, man, you're fucking up. And if you're the one fucking up, you got to be able to handle, hey, man, I'm fucking up, without taking it personal, like a personal attack. You have to be able to admit, hey, yeah, I'm fucking up. Okay, let me get better. Let me fix this. Versus, I can't believe you're telling me this, that, then you take it personal and the business will never grow. It's doomed to failure. Okay, so, I apologize ahead. My mind is all over the place because I'm thinking about injuries and all these surgeries and stuff for my client. But that is the situation with going into business with people you love. You have to set the expectations ahead of time. Hey, man, if I'm going 100%, I need you to go at 100%. If I'm reinvesting all my paycheck back into the business, you got to invest yours back too. Because it's when things get off balance like that, that leads to what ultimately? And if you listen to this podcast, you should know, leads to resentment. And resentment is the anchor or the harbinger of all breakups. I'll say that again. Resentment is the harbinger of all breakups. As soon as resentment gets in the picture, unless it's corrected quickly, that relationship is doomed. So if you start resenting the partner in your business who happens to be someone you love, how's that dynamic going to be? And how's that dynamic going to be, especially if you got to go home to that same person and like have dinner together? You see how that happens? So that being said, if you are in the same boat, if you understand it is sink or swim together, just like my parents did, survival, sink or swim together, the dynamic of having someone you love, a partner in a business, is unbeatable. Okay, I'll say that again. If you have the same values and if you both understand it is sink or swim together, it is whatever happens to the business happens to us together. That combination is unstoppable. Because why? Because if you're married, let's say if you're married to that person, you are business 24/7 with that other person because it is sink or swim together. So when you are hustling as a partnership together 24/7, you're going to outwork, you're going to outlast, out everything the competition. Because your competition is probably, let's just call it 7 to 7. They're going 12 hours a day. You're going 24 hours a day. When it's tossing and turning in bed because you're thinking about a business issue and you can just look over to your spouse or whoever you're with and say, hey, man, I'm thinking about this, and talk through those business issues at 2 a.m., you're ahead of the game. So it's not to say that you shouldn't or you can't have business partners that are people that you love and care about and they care about you. It's that you have to understand the dynamic of that relationship inside of business. Inside of business. And so the last thing I'll say is that you can't also have the reverse effect. You can't, if you're in business with somebody you love or a partner that you love, you can't let personal shit flow into business. Okay? Let's say non-business related. You're in business together and you go have dinner, a date night dinner. Nothing related to business. But you get into an argument on that date night dinner. Right? Does that or will that affect the business side of your life? Right? Just because you got into an argument over whatever at dinner, is that going to prevent you from communicating or talking at work? Because then if it does, hugely detrimental to your business. So you see, when you do business with a partner that you love, your spouse or whatever, it is all encompassing. It is 365, 24/7, all the time. Personal stuff, business stuff, family stuff. It just evolves. It's just in the mix. It's in the pot of stew. And, if you mix up the broth wrong, it's going to taste terrible. That's just the bottom line. But I'll go back to say, if you can make it work, being business together with your spouse or someone you love is an unstoppable thing, because you care about that person to the highest level. They care about you to the highest level. You both care about the business to the highest level. It's sink or swim together, shared value system, shared approach to business, shared approach to life, all that stuff. It's an unstoppable combination as it relates to the business. And as I'm saying this, I think of one more thing. You do, however, have to separate at times business from personal and individual to individual. Because when you're in business with your spouse, you're driving to work together. You're doing all these things together. You're doing strategic meetings together. You're going to dinner together. You're going to lunch together. You're having breakfast together. You might be working out together. You're doing everything together. So it's easy to lose yourself into it. But you got to remember, everybody's their own individual. And so you do have to be able to set up a structure where you can extract yourself at times to allow you to still be yourself. Okay? So, complicated answer to a very, very good question. I have no issues with doing business with someone you love. As long as you share the same values, it's sink or swim together. It's not taking things personal, not taking business things personal, and not taking personal things into your business. It's a very simple formula. If you can work, it's a simple formula, but very hard to implement. If you can work through all that dynamic, literally, your business will be unstoppable. So, really good question. As I think about the answer through all this mumbo jumbo with trial, I may do an actual full-length episode as it relates to business with partnership. I might bring my wife into the podcast studio to talk about it all too, because we do things together. And I do, my law firm is with people that I love too, and we've been together for 20 plus something years. So it's just that kind of dynamic that it's a very interesting question, but it is a question that with the appropriate right answer and the right structure can really, really, really push you to the next level in business. So episode 52 of the End-to-End Podcast, talking about whether or not you should partner with someone you love. Happy to be back here. Sorry, it was a quick, fast episode, but as I mentioned, we're in the middle of trial. Strategically thinking, my mind's all over the place. I'd be excited to bring another episode to you next week. Thank you for listening. Again, if your knowledge swole, share the show. That's how we grow. Share the show. If you found value, comment, like, share, follow. I appreciate all of y'all for sticking with me through now over a year of the End-to-End Podcast as we continue to grow. Literally, we're looking at the numbers and we're getting followers and likes and comments. Like it just grows on a daily basis. And so I want to thank you all. Looking forward to bringing you another episode very, very soon.